It is Thursday, April 10th, and lots of breaking news to get to. So much happening this week. Win after win after win for the Trump administration and Republicans this week. The House passing Trump's big, beautiful bill this morning, Trump's budget resolution, locking in the Trump tax cuts, huge new regulatory cuts, also cutting $1.5 trillion at minimum in federal spending. Also, CPI report dropping this morning, showing inflation down bigly, the most in 4 years. Dems and the media completely perplexed over this after spending the week screaming about Trump driving prices up. This is great. Also, multiple trade deals in the pipe. Kevin Hassett confirming this morning they are on the cusp of announcing multiple new 0-for-0 tariff trade deals and more stories as well from around the country, including some shocking revelations from Trump's cabinet meeting this morning. You're going to want to hear this, but before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So this may turn out to be the most successful week of the Trump administration yet. If you tune out all the noise we've been hearing in the media from Dems and these anti-Trumpers and look at what's really happened this week, it has been win after win after win for the Trump administration. The March CPI report dropping this morning, showing prices falling, price growth crashing, month-over-month consumer prices only rising 0.1%, the lowest in 4 years. That brings the annual inflation rate back down to 2.4%, lower than expectations. Trump promised he'd get inflation under control, and to Democrat chagrin, he's succeeding. In 2 months, just 2 months, he's brought the inflation rate back to where it was pre-pandemic. And yes, I'm giving Trump credit for this, in my opinion, because the drop is largely thanks to energy pricing. The price of energy down bigly, causing prices for everything else to now begin falling with it. Watch.
Coming in under -1/10 on headline, -1/10. We're expecting the exact opposite. We were expecting up 1/10, -1/10. Well, we equal where we were in May of 2020 to find a lower number. Here all the way to April of 2020, the heavy COVID-affected months of the calendar. If we take food and energy out, still coming in on the under, up 1/10. We're expecting triple that number, up 1/10. Well, that would equal where we were in June of last year. To find a lower number would be 0 in January of 21. These are definitely low numbers.
This coming after a week of nonstop fear-mongering from Democrats telling us that Trump's blowing the economy up, that he's failed to lower prices, failed to tackle inflation, broke his promise, they say, to voters. In fact, the ranking member of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, top Democrat in Congress, spent all day yesterday talking about inflation, about Trump blowing up the progress that Biden made in bringing inflation down. You can't make this up. Watch.
President Trump promised costs would go down on day one. Costs aren't going down, they're going up. Inflation is going up.
Hakeem Jeffries is the ranking member in the House, the highest Democrat, the highest ranking Democrat in Congress, and he is having one hell of a bad week. 2 members of his caucus passed away this week, leading to Trump now locking in a major victory in Congress this morning. Republicans passing Trump's big, beautiful bill, setting the stage for a major conservative policy overhaul. The bill passed this morning with 216 yes votes to 214 no votes. 2 Republicans voting no. Thomas Massie from Kentucky, who we personally like on this channel, and Victoria Spartz from Indiana, voting no because the spending cuts, they say, weren't large enough. This locks in Trump's agenda, though. The bill passing in the House, including making the 2017 tax cuts permanent, including sweeping deregulation, huge regulatory cuts, guaranteeing at minimum $1.5 trillion in spending cuts. The bill now moving to the Senate, which it's expected to pass. Trump taking to Truth Social, proclaiming victory, saying congratulations to the House on the passage of a bill that sets the stage for one of the greatest and most important signings in the history of our country. Among many other things, it will be the largest tax and regulation cuts ever even contemplated. Make America great again. The passage of this bill, by the way, is very important, especially right now with everything Trump's doing with his tariff policy, trying to onshore manufacturing, bring back American manufacturing, and reset the global trading system. Markets are spooked right now. This bill sets up the framework for explosive domestic GDP growth over the next 2 to 4 years, sweeping deregulation and tax cuts combined with trade deals that are coming down the pipe. If it all settles like we think it will, by midterms, Trump may go down as a landmark president. Trump's top economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, confirming this morning multiple trade deals are on the cusp of closing. Roll the tape.
90 days.
Right.
People say it's happy talk. And and in fact, all these trading partners are going to be emboldened now to not do anything because they know that the president's not serious or he's going to blink. So they can just wait out, and they got 90 days now, and they don't have to do anything.
I talked with Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, yesterday, just to get an update on the number of countries. And of course, saying you've got a lot of countries calling, that's one thing, right? But, they could be calling to say, how's the weather out there? But then having people really begin negotiations to make offers, that's a different number. That number is like closing in on 20. There's a little bit of discussion about exactly, well, did they really make an offer? But for sure, there's a bunch of offers that are really sensible offers, and they're coming from our top trading partners. And it's some of the most progress in trade negotiation that I think probably the most progress that we've ever seen. And so I think that this system that the president set up to say, hey, we're serious about negotiation, we're serious about reciprocity. If you guys come down, we'll come down. To do that, we've got to have some negotiations. The fact that people started to send stuff. We had 2 deals almost closed as of last week. Almost closed. Getting them closed requires the lawyers to work forever and so on. And so getting them closed by yesterday was not quite going to happen. But yes, there's a big inventory of deals that are right close to the finish line.
All right, that's interesting.
This would be huge if the EU is one of those countries, or Japan, or both. It would go a long way in settling down the markets. Volatility spiking again today. The VIX jumping back over 50, which shows the fear in markets, a very volatile market right now. Meanwhile, the media continuing to melt down over this morning on The View, host Sunny Hostin losing her mind, having what can only be described as a full-on panic attack over Trump negotiating new trade agreements with other countries. Everything he does is like DEFCON 5 to these people. Watch.
I don't think he knows what he's doing. He bankrupted. What we keep on failing to remember is that he bankrupted 2 casinos. He had 6 bankruptcies. Nobody does that. He's just not a good business person. He doesn't understand economics. His professor at Wharton Business School basically said he was the dumbest student he'd ever had in his career. These are just facts. So Trump definitely doesn't understand economics. He's listening to someone who you say doesn't understand economics. And so there is no end plan. There is no game plan. He doesn't know how to negotiate. He couldn't negotiate himself out of a paper bag. But the issue here...
But his narcissism prevents him from listening to people.
From admitting that.
Yes.
And to Whoopi's point at the very beginning, meaning that clip that we played, that he's saying, everybody's kissing my butt. They're actually not, because China has accused the United States of blackmail and declared that Beijing would fight to the end. The Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has said its friendship with the U.S. is over. Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said Trump's tariffs have no basis in logic, are not the act of a friend, and he called them totally unwarranted. Macron from France, he said the tariffs are brutal and unfounded.
Who said this? We went from the envy of the world to the enemy of the world.
Yes,
Who said that?
I don't know who said that, but what I will say, from my perspective, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, no country can count on America anymore. They're going to ice us out economically. We're going to be on our own because they're not going to be able to depend on a country that every 4 years could elect a dictator. They can't rely upon us.
Trump's doing exactly what he campaigned on. He's doing what he promised he'd do. That's the opposite of a dictator. The first president to put America first in half a century more, and it's driving these people crazy. In another story, Trump holding a full cabinet meeting this morning, inviting the media to attend. Trump going around the table, asking for an update from each cabinet head. Some major revelations revealed during this meeting. The Department of Labor revealing shocking numbers of fraud that they've uncovered with the help of Elon and Doge, saying they've uncovered, get this, 25,000 people who are over 115 years old collecting $59 million in payments per year. 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have been collecting fraudulent payments to the tune of $250 million a year. And 10,000 people who aren't even born yet have been collecting $69 million in payments. And they haven't even been born. Watch.
When we need it for who deserves it. That's not what we're seeing. And the numbers that we saw last night, again, exposed by our partners at Doge, at the Department of Labor. Since 2020, over $400 million of payments have gone out already. And when you hear these numbers, apparently in the United States, we have over almost 25,000 people who are over 115 years old who are collecting $59 million that we have sent out to people. Talk about fraudulent behavior. Mr. President, 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have collected fraudulent payments at the tune of $254 million has gone out. And lastly, 10,000 people who have not been born yet, 15 years into the future, $69 million, and they haven't even been born yet. In one case, they will be born 129 years from now. The United States government sent them $41,000, and they're not born yet. So, under the Department of Labor, those are the things that we're uncovering. I couldn't be more honored to tell the American people that we're bringing back their dollars and we're saving them and returning them to the United States Treasury.
Elon Musk, also a staple at these cabinet meetings as the head of Doge, announcing the American taxpayer will expect to see a real savings of $150 billion by fiscal year 2026 from just the waste and fraud his team has been able to locate and cut thus far. Roll the tape.
Thanks to your fantastic leadership, this amazing cabinet, and the very talented Doge team, I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion. And I mean, and some of it is just absurd, like people getting unemployment insurance who haven't been born yet. I mean, I think anyone can appreciate whether, I mean, come on, that's just crazy. You know, some of these things, people ask me, like, well, how are you going to find waste and fraud in the government? I'm like, well, actually just go in any direction. That's how you find it. It's very common. it's, as the military would say, target-rich environment. So I think we're doing a lot of good and excellent collaboration with the Cabinet to achieve these savings. And it will actually result in better services for the American people, and that we're going to be spending their tax dollars in a way that is sensible and fair and good.
And your people are fantastic. In fact, hopefully they'll stay around for the long haul. We'd like to keep as many as we can. They're great, smart, sharp, right? Finding things that nobody would have thought of. Very computer savvy.
Yeah.
Now, there was a goal of $1 trillion a year in savings. I'm not sure if Musk misspoke there. I know they've already reached over $140 billion, according to Doge.gov, so we'll see. Musk also receiving some good news from the highest law enforcement officer in the country, AG Pambondi, at this cabinet meeting, providing an update that a very high-profile arrest is imminent on a Tesla dealership president who she says is behind many of the attacks that we've seen on Elon and Tesla, saying this person will be arrested shortly and there will be no deals, no breaks. They will face the maximum 20-year prison sentence. Watch this.
In the next 24 hours, you're going to be seeing another huge arrest on a Tesla dealership president, and that person will be looking at least 20 years in prison with no negotiations.
That's great.
Now we'll see who this person is. Hopefully it's someone who's orchestrating all this or funding it. I really want to see Pam Bondi find the people who are funding all of these Tesla takedown protests. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.